What is up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. These are my full card breakdown and predictions for UFC Long Island. We have Brian Ortega going against Yair Rodriguez.
I need all the wins, yeah. Harder than all that is. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out.
And we are back for another breakdown this week, breaking down a 12-fight card. I think it's a pretty solid card from a fan perspective. I'd say a lot of fights that I'm looking forward to. Definitely looking forward to Shane Burgos, Charles Jourdain. Looking forward to Jack Shore, Ricky Simone, and some other fun fights that are scattered throughout the card. From a fan perspective, I think the card's pretty good. I know a lot of people that are going. I almost went to the card as well, just kind of pulled out last second, but should be a fun card to watch. From a betting perspective, just another tricky card. Like these last three cards this week, the last 2 weeks have been very tricky. I've kept it very light, and I've had success keeping it light. This will probably be another light one. I really like the card next week for UFC London. I actually have two big bets already next week for UFC London, including my second max bet of the year. So looking forward to next week more so from a betting perspective. But this fight card should be fun, but I'm just really struggling to find some spots there. Before we get started, though, and talk about all these fights, if you guys can please leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you are not already. Would much appreciate that. If you have not signed up for DFSbythenumbers.com, be sure to do so. The most popular option is that $10 MMA betting option. With that, you get access to my MMA stats. First notice on all of my bets, my betting article, my betting breakdown video, Hail Mary parlay. Also do a prelim parlay, a main card parlay, and then a full card parlay as well. So lots of parlay action. If you guys are into the parlays, I know a lot of people that are. Access to Discord, and then this is the biggest thing here, my full card breakdown and best bet article, which is usually out on Wednesdays. I go through, break down each and every fight. It's around like 15 pages at times, depending on how many fights. I give my confidence rating, and I give my best bet for each and every fight on the card. And like I said, I already have two bets for next week, including a 5-unit max bet, and then also a 3.5-unit bet. So two big bets next week for UFC London. This week, no bets yet, and I don't even know if I'll have one. I mean, a couple spots are sticking out, maybe one or two, but it's going to be a very light week for me for UFC Long Island here. But that's what you got to do sometimes. I mean, I kept it light last week, and it definitely paid off because, man, last week was a complete mess. I think I went 2-1 on my bets for a little bit over a unit profit. I was very happy with just keeping it light, and this is another one of those cards. Like, a lot of these fights could really go either way. But I say we start with it, guys, and we're going to start with the first fight of the night, and we have Emily Ducote going against Jessica Penne. So, Ducote, she is 28 years old, 5'2" with a 64-inch reach, 11-6 and 4-1 in her last 5 fights. Jessica Penne, 39 years old, 5'5" with a 67-inch reach, 14-5 and 2-3 in her last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds, although I don't think anybody should be betting on this fight. We have Emily Ducote. She opened up -135. She's currently -147. Jessica Penne opened up +115. She is currently +127. I guess we got to talk about the tail of the tape first off. So Ducote, she's going to be 11 years younger. That's very significant there. Jessica Penne, she's 39 years old at strawweight, and she's put together back-to-back wins. So she's still out there going and getting wins. A win against Lupe Godinez, which I thought she lost personally, but even though it was competitive, I mean, that's very impressive in its own right. And then also a win against Karolina Kowalkiewicz, which decent win as well. So Penne, I think, still has a little bit left in the tank, but stylistically, I think this is kind of a tough matchup for her. I mean, I went and watched a lot of tape on Emily Ducote. There's a lot of tape out there on her. I watched the Kanako Murata fight, and I watched some of her last fights as well. She has a lot of power. I will say she does seem to fight pretty smart. Her takedown defense seems to be pretty good, and I think that's important in this fight here. The takedown defense is solid. She doesn't really take a ton of risk as well. She's kind of low volume at times, but she should be the better striker on the feet here. And if she's able to stuff the takedown, she's able to keep this at range on the feet, she should be able to just outpoint Jessica Penne for 15 minutes here. But hey, if Penne gets this fight down to the mat, like, she's going to be very live for a submission. Ducote has been submitted 2 times. One time, I think 1 or 2. She's been submitted before, though, in her career. So, could the 39-year-old strawweight in Penne pull it off? Potentially, but I think it's a good matchup for Ducote as long as she fights smart, which I feel she will. So, give me Ducote to win. Give me Ducote to stuff the takedowns and ultimately pick apart Jessica Penne for a 3-round decision. All right, next we have Dwight Grant going against Dustin Soltfist. We have Dwight Grant, 37 years old, 6'1" with a 76.5-inch reach, 11-5 and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Dustin Soltfist, 30 years old, 6 foot, with a 75-inch reach, 13-4, and 2-3 in his last 5 fights. So we'll take a look at the odds. Dwight Grant opened up -175, currently -140. Dustin Soltfist opening up +150, currently +120. So some money coming in on Dustin Soltfist. And I'll be honest, guys, predicting and betting Dwight Grant fights are just so tough to do. I mean, this guy is just so hit or miss. Sometimes he shows up, he looks like an absolute killer. Sometimes he shows up, he looks terrible. He doesn't throw anything. It's a very boring fight at times. Just really hard to cap these Dwight Grant fights. Dustin Soltfist is a guy that's 0-3 thus far in the UFC. And I mean, he's fighting some good guys. You know, Gerald Meerschaert submitted him in the 3rd round. Rodolfo Vieira submitted him in the 3rd round. And then he lost a decision against Kyle Dawkins. So all those guys have one thing in common, and that they are grapplers. Stolzfus being a grappler as well. I just don't know if he has, you know, the wrestling to really get this fight down to the mat and hold it there. One thing I will say, and this is kind of concerning if you are on the Grant side, and I think I will be ever so slightly, is that Dwight Grant is going to be coming up a weight class. So that's a concern there. But even then, like, coming up a weight class, he's still going to be the bigger fighter. He's still going to have a 1-inch height advantage and a 1.5-inch reach advantage. And typically, Dwight Grant does have very good takedown defense. He does have a very good get-up game. He is hard to take and hold down. So if this is on the feet, like, you got to clearly favor the striking of Dwight Grant. It's just, he's low volume. He's powerful, but low volume. And if Stolzfus is able to get the fight down to the mat, it could get interesting. But I'm going to take Dwight Grant. Just stylistically, it should be a winnable matchup for him. Stuff the takedowns, keep it on the feet. I think he can either outstrike Stolzfus across 3 rounds or potentially land that knockout shot. Stolzfus, very tough, 17 fights, has never been knocked out. I'm kind of leaning more towards a Dwight Grant decision, but it's going to be a really close fight. So I get people taking the dog shot on Dustin Stolzfus, but I don't know. I don't think it's the best matchup in the world for him, but you never know. Dwight Grant fights are just so tough to call. Dwight Grant, for me, give me Dwight Grant to win by decision. Another fight I'm just not confident in at all. All right, next we have another close fight. We have Dustin Jacoby going against Daun Jung. We have Jacoby, 34 years old, 6'3", with a 78-inch reach, 17-5-1, and 4-0-1 in his last 5 fights. Daun Jung, 28 years old, 6'4", with a 78.5-inch reach, 15-2-1, and 4-0-1 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds. One of the closer line fights on the entire card. And I believe this is the closest line fight on the entire card. So we have Dustin Jacoby opening up -110, currently -125. We have Daun Jung opening up -110, currently +105. So this is a very, very tricky fight to call because with Dustin Jacoby, kickboxing background, very good striker. I love the volume out of Dustin Jacoby. I think he will have the striking advantage on the feet. We saw Daun Jung, really competitive on the feet against one Sam Alvey, and that was actually his last draw. There was against Sam Alvey in a fight where the volume just wasn't there. He had the power, but just really, struggling with Sam Alvey in those first 2 rounds. He did put it on in the 3rd round, I think dropping Alvey twice, but just not the best look going out there and, getting outlanded by Sam Alvey. Just not a great look. Like, Sam Alvey outlanded this guy 22-20 in the 1st round. Sam Alvey outlanded him 23-19 in the 2nd round. Like, if Sam Alvey's doing that to you, what is Dustin Jacoby going to do to you, right, on the feet? So I think the minute winner on the feet is going to be Dustin Jacoby. I think he is the better striker. I do think he has more volume. With all that said, though, Daun Jung is going to most definitely be the harder hitter. Daun Jung hits extremely hard. Remember, he went out there and he elbowed the guard of Kennedy Nzechukwu and knocked him out, wobbled him. So this guy does have some power. He knocked out Kennedy Nzechukwu, knocked out Mike Rodriguez. He did drop Sam Alvey once or twice in that 3rd round as well. So he definitely does have power, but I think the volume of Jacoby is going to be key here. I think a big talking point for this fight, and the reason a lot of people are on Daun Jung, is going to be the takedown game. You take a look at Daun Jung and watch his William Knight fight. He went out there and got 8 takedowns against William Knight. Well, that was the only fight that I've ever seen where he went out there and implemented some wrestling. Other than that, 0 takedowns across all of his other UFC fights. But yeah, he was able to take down William Knight 8 different times. I don't think it's not going to be as easy to take down and hold down William Knight as it is, Dustin Jacoby. Dustin Jacoby on paper, a 58% takedown defense, but his get-up game is extremely good. Ankudalama did get him down 9 times, but he was able to pop back up each and every time, really made Ian Cutelaba worked there and kind of gassed him out in that draw against Ian Cutelaba. So I don't really see Da Un Jung taking down and holding down Dustin Jacoby. Maybe he can mix in a takedown here or there, but I do think this is primarily going to play out on the feet. And it should be close. Like, I feel like Jacoby's going to be landing more. Maybe Da Un Jung has the better moments, the harder shots landed. But I'm going to slightly lean with Dustin Jacoby to win this fight based off of volume, based off of activity across 3 rounds. I think both guys are very tough, very durable. I don't know if this finishes, but give me Dustin Jacoby to win this fight and win this fight by decision. All right, next we have Bill Algeo going against Herbert Burns. So both guys actually had different opponents. Both of their opponents had to pull out, and then they matched these guys up together, which is good. It's going to be a fun matchup here. We have Bill Algeo, who is 33 years old, 6 foot with a 73.5-inch reach, 15-6, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Herbert Burns, 34 years old, 5'9", with a 74-inch reach, 11-3, and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds. Bill Algeo opening at -120, currently -200. Herbert Burns opening up +100. And currently +170 here. So first off, we have not seen Herbert Burns in a while. The last time we saw him fight was 1 year and 10 months ago, and in that fight he did miss weight, and I believe he missed weight in the Evan Dunham fight as well. So kind of having trouble making weight is Herbert Burns. So this is one of the fights where I really do need to see how Herbert Burns looks on the scale. Like, he's not only missed weight his last 2 fights, but he's missed by a wide margin. So we got to see if he makes weight. If he does, I think it's somewhat of a winnable fight for him in the fact that he will be able to get takedowns here whenever he wants. Bill Algeo has some of the worst takedown defense you'll ever see, but Bill Algeo's get-up game is elite. His takedown defense is 55%, but it is very hard to take down and hold down Bill Algeo. Bill Algeo also a black belt in BJJ as well, so although I think Burns can absolutely take down Bill Algeo, will he be able to hold him down? Will he able to secure position on Bill Algeo? Will he be able to get a submission? I'm not really convinced. Will he be able to take him down consistently for 3 rounds? And I'm also not convinced on that because I just don't think Herbert Burns has shown the best cardio. I mean, his cardio completely fell off a cliff in that Daniel Pineda fight. He had nothing left in the gas tank late in that 2nd round. And, Bill Algeo is not a guy you really want to slow down against. So I think Burns, if Burns wins the fight, it's probably early. This guy's very dangerous. He had that flying knee against Nate Landwehr. This guy's legit on the mat, and Bill Algeo has been submitted twice. Those were back a while ago. I think he got submitted back in 2012, and then he also got submitted back in 2014. So it's been a while, and like I said, Bill Algeo has a black belt now. He's very hard to submit, very hard to control. So I don't know if Herbert Burns is going to finish him early, but I think that's kind of his path to victory. But I see Bill Algeo kind of weathering the storm, taking over late, keeping this on the feet as the fight goes on, and just picking apart Herbert Burns. So I think it's kind of Herbert Burns early, Bill Algeo late or decision. I'm going to go with Bill Algeo to win by decision here. I think a late finish is definitely possible, especially if Herbert Burns comes in, looks like crap on the scales. If that cardio does not hold up, I think a Bill Algeo finish is definitely on the table, but I will go with Bill Algeo to take over that 2nd and 3rd and win this fight by decision. All right, next we have Ricky Simón going against Jack Shore here. One of the best fights on the card, and it's on the prelims. We have Jack Shore, who is 27 years old, 5'8", with a 71-inch reach, 16-0, and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Ricky Simón, 29 years old, 5'6", with a 70-inch reach, 19-3, and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds, and Jack Shore opened up -115, currently -170. Ricky Simón opened up -105, currently +105, and I got to be honest, I'm a huge Jack Shore fan, but I completely disagree with these odds, and this is a fight where I've literally been flipping back and forth. I've really dove deep into and watched a ton of tape on this fight, but just really hard for me to pick a winner here. It's a close fight. We'll start with the striking. Like, in terms of the striking, Jack Shore will be the better striker. I think this guy has made so many improvements in the strike, and he's young. Both guys are young, but Jack Shore, only 27 years old. You see the improvements in the striking. I like that. In terms of the wrestling, you have to favor Ricky Simón. This guy is a legit wrestler. He's averaging over 6.76 takedowns per 15 minutes. And then in terms of the grappling, I think it's fairly close. Jack Shore believes a black belt. Ricky Simón just recently got his black belt as well. I think the grappling, I would favor Jack Shore outright, but the wrestling, Ricky Simón there. And then also, a big factor in this fight is going to be the level of competition. You take a look at Jack Shore in his level of competition, a win against Nolin Hernandez in his UFC debut. Hernandez, as far as I'm concerned, is not in the UFC. A submission win against Aaron Phillips. Aaron Phillips went 0-3 in the UFC. As far as I'm concerned, is no longer in the UFC. A win against Hunter Azure. Hunter Azure 3-2 in the UFC. That's a decent win there, I'd say. A win against Ludovic Shalinian, who was on The Ultimate Fighter. It is what it is. And then a win against Tamir Valiev, and this was probably his best win. And Valiev did actually get cut from the UFC. I'm not sure why. I don't think it has anything to do with the dude's skills, because Valiev's legit. So not sure why he did get cut, but Valiev did get cut nonetheless. But those are his wins. Valiev, Shalinian, Hunter Azure, Aaron Phillips, Nolin Hernandez, where you look at Ricky Simone, like, this guy's fought some really good fighters. He has wins over fighters like Ray Borg, wins over fighters like Montel Jackson, Rob Davalishvili, Ronnie Yaya, guys like that, Brian Kelleher, Rafael Assunção. Like, he's fought and beaten some really good guys, losses to Rob Font and a weird knockout loss against Uriah Faber, but outside of that, he's looked phenomenal. So this is a tough fight for me because I am very high on both guys. I think both guys are extremely skilled. I think it's criminal that this fight is on the prelims. It makes no sense. We literally have a 16-0 Jack Shore with some hype on the dude, and then we have a guy in Ricky Simone who's 19-3, and both guys are fun fighters. So this being on the prelims and not even the featured prelim doesn't make a ton of sense. But yeah, like I said, I've been flipping back and forth. I think Jack Shore will have success on the feet, but I feel like Ricky Simone can take down Jack Shore and potentially control him here. We saw Hunter Azure go out there and control Jack Shore for, I think, 4 or 5 minutes of that fight in a very competitive fight. It was a split decision. I think 2 judges had it 30-27 Jack Shore. 1 judge had it 29-28 Hunter Azure. It was a close-ish fight. I did score it for Jack Shore personally, but I feel like Ricky Simone can get this fight down to the mat, control Jack Shore at times. But it's going to be so close. It's going to be so close. That's why I don't really get this line. I think we have to pay -170 on Jack Shore here because he's undefeated, because I think people are really counting out Ricky Simone here. So, tough fight. I was leaning Jack Shore, then I was leaning Simone, then I was leaning Jack Shore. I think I'm just going to pick the dog here and Ricky Simone to go out here and win minutes on the mat, get the takedowns. I think he's the better wrestler, and I think that's going to count here. Give me Ricky Simone to grind out a very, very competitive decision. It's probably a split decision that really can go either way. This is a very high-level fight and a very competitive fight. Give me Ricky Simone to get the job done by decision. All right, next we have the featured prelim. We have Punahele Soriano going against Dalcha Lungiambula. We have Soriano, 29 years old, 5'11", with a 72.5-inch reach, 8-2 and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Dalcha Lungiambula, 34 years old, 5'8", with a 76-inch reach, 11-4 and 2-3 in his last 5 fights. So let's take a look at the odds here. Puna was a really big favorite, but money's pouring in on Dalcha. He's -275. He's currently -220. And then Dalcha opened +235, currently +185. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we have 2 guys that they're pretty untrustworthy. 2 guys that are like very good in the first round, very explosive in the first round, but kind of fall off a cliff after that first round. I don't trust either guy's cardio here. And I guess people are, on the Dalcha side because they think they can, he can take down Soriano. Soriano on paper has a 35% takedown defense, but that was definitely because of his last fight against Nick Maximov, where Maximov did take him down a ton. But prior to that Maximov fight, believe it or not, Soriano actually had a 100% takedown defense, but it was Maximov who did take down Soriano 11 times. There's a big difference between Nick Maximov and Dalcha Lungiambula. Nick Maximov can go a clean 15 minutes wrestling the entire time, no problem, gas tanks on point. Dalcha Lungiambula, not even close. I mean, there's no way Dalcha's going to go out here and take down Soriano that many times. And I actually thought Soriano did a decent job for the most part, stuffing the takedowns and working his way back up. It wasn't really allowing Maximov to really control him a ton in that fight. But Maximov's relentless, so he was just on him like that the entire time. I absolutely don't think Dalcha has the card to do that. So could Dalcha take him down here or there? I think he could, but I think he's going to really struggle to hold him down and do that for 15 minutes, and that's going to be a problem with the gas tank of Dalcha Lungiambula. On the feet, I do favor Soriano, and I do think that's where this primarily plays out at. Both guys have a ton of power, the better finisher being Punahele Soriano. Soriano has finished, I want to say all but 1 or 2 all but one of his wins. He has an 87% finish rate, 63% by knockout, 25% by submission. And kind of weird here, but Dalcha only has a 54% finish rate. So he's not the best finisher in the world, but we can't deny that this guy does throw with a ton of power. But I do think the harder hitter is Soriano. I think the better finisher is Soriano. I don't know if Soriano knocks him out, though. Like, both guys have shown very good chins. I think both guys in a combined 25 fights have only been knocked out once, and that one knockout loss was against Magomed Ankalaev when he knocked out Dalcha in that third round. So I actually see this getting extended, and if it does, like, it's going to be sloppy, it's going to be messy. Both guys are probably going to be gassed out in that second half of the fight. But I think I'm going to lean with Soriano to get it done. I think Soriano especially wins that first round. I think it gets interesting in that second or third, but I think I trust Soriano's cardio slightly more. I have seen him go out there and win a decision against Jamie Pickett. His cardio looked okay. He did go against Brendan Allen. His cardio looked better than I expected, I guess, but both guys, their gas tanks are just not good. So I'm going to take Soriano to win. I'm going to take him to win by decision here. But I guess I get to an extent why the money is coming in on Dalcha. It shouldn't be this wide. Like, you can't trust really either of these guys, but do you really want to trust Soriano at minus 275? I don't, but I will pick him to win. I'll pick him to win by decision. Next, we have Lauren Murphy going against Miesha Tate. We have Miesha Tate, 35 years old, 5'6" with a 66.5-inch reach, 19-8 and 2-3 in her last 5 fights. Lauren Murphy, 38 years old, 5'5" with a 68-inch reach, 15-5 and 4-1 in her last 5 fights. Let's take a look at the odds, and these odds are insane. Miesha Tate opened up minus 160, currently minus 210. Lauren Murphy opened up plus 140. She is currently plus 180. So, that's kind of nuts to me. I mean, Miesha Tate, she's coming down to weight class here. Another fight where I do need to see the weigh-ins. I want to see if Miesha Tate can make 125 here. This fight, I don't know. I guess you gotta favor Miesha Tate here. I think the striking is going to be competitive. Like, Miesha Tate, as you know, she came back and her striking did look a lot better than it had in the past. So I will give her that. So she made improvements there. And just Lauren Murphy, like, if this was any other fighter, really, you know, against Miesha Tate, I probably would pick the dog here, but just Lauren Murphy, I don't know. You take a look at Lauren Murphy in her wins, like in the UFC, Barb Honchak, Mara Marilla Barella, Andrea Lee split decision in a fight I thought she lost, Roxanne Modafferi, Aaliyah Shakarova, who's cut, and then Joanne Wood in a fight I thought she lost. So those are her wins. And if she's losing to good fighters, Sarah McMahon, Liz Carmouche, Caitlin Chukagan, Ciara Eubanks, Shevchenko, of course, but just the wins have not impressed me, and she just doesn't really impress me in general. I think the striking is probably competitive here, and that if Miesha Tate can get this fight down to the mat, she's going to have an advantage. But, you know, how easy is that going to be to get this fight down to the mat? I'm not sure, especially with Tate coming down to weight class. So, yeah, this fight could play out pretty competitive. It could... Well, it's probably going to go to decision. I think it's the fight that is favored most to go to decision. Do I want to lay minus 220 on Miesha Tate? No. But I do think she's definitely the more skilled fighter, right? Like, she is more skilled overall. And if she can get the takedowns, get on the mat, I think she can win minutes down there. So I'll take Miesha Tate, but minus 220. There's no way I would touch that. But get Miesha Tate by decision. All right, next we have probably the best fight on the entire card outside of the main event. I mean, this fight, Ortega-Rodriguez main event, and then also that Jack Shore, Ricky Simone prelim is, those are the 3 best fights on the card. Really good fights there. So looking forward to breaking this one down. We have Shane Burgos, 31 years old, 5'11", with a 75.5-inch reach, 14-3 and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Charles Jourdain, 26 years old, 5'9", with a 69-inch reach, 13-4 and 3-1 in his last 5 fights. So we take a look at the odds, and Shane Burgos opened up minus 150, currently minus 171. Charles Jourdain opened up plus 130, currently plus 146. I think this is a fight that, you know, both guys are just going to stand in the middle and bang here. That's what they want to do. Such a fun fight they put together here. Like, they put together Shane Burgos, who, find me a boring Shane Burgos fight, I can't. Find me a boring Charles Jourdain fight, you probably can't. And then to put these guys together. So this is going to be fun. I don't really see either guy going for takedowns here. If anything, it's probably Shane Burgos going for takedowns. But I think he only landed like 1 takedown thus far in the UFC. But yeah, these guys are just going to stand and strike here. And if they're going to stand and strike, I think you had to favor Burgos here. One thing you got to take note of is that 6.5-inch reach advantage. In a fight where they're going to be standing and striking for 15 minutes, a 6.5-inch reach advantage is definitely key here. Some things I don't like about Burgos, the striking defense. This is a guy that relies on his chin a lot, and it's got him in trouble in the past, got him dropped a ton. In the Emmett fight, he got knocked out against Edson Barbosa, that really weird knockout. So this guy has taken a ton of damage, but I think skill for skill on the feet, the better striker is Shane Burgos. This guy's volume's unmatched. It's insane. Averaging almost 8 significant strikes landed per minute. Compared to Charles Jourdain, who's very active as well, landing 5.6. So both guys are going to throw a ton, but I think the better striker is Burgos. I think that 6.5-inch reach advantage is key here, and I think Burgos can win minutes in this fight. But Jourdain's dangerous. He hits very hard, and Burgos is hittable. Maybe Jourdain could finish him, but Burgos is next level tough. You got to really kill this guy to get him out of here. I'm going to say Burgos wins this fight based off of the volume here. It's going to be a war. It's going to be fun. Give me Shane Burgos to win this fight by decision. All right, next we have Matt Schnell going against Sumudaerji. We have Madargi, who is 26 years old, 5'8", with a 72-inch reach, 16-4 and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Matt Schnell, 32 years old, 5'8", with a 70-inch reach, 15-7 and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds here. Sumudaerji, big favorite. He opened up as a minus 230 favorite. He's currently minus 270. And then Schnell opened up plus 195, currently plus 230. So, yeah, striker versus striker here. I mean, Schnell, it'd be wise for him to get this fight down to the mat, but Matt Schnell has literally only completed 2 takedowns officially in the UFC, but one of those takedowns, his opponent kind of like pulled guard, so I'd really say he only got 1 takedown, and that was against, who I think it was against Smolka, who's like a 32% takedown defense. So, if you're expecting Matt Schnell to go out there and wrestle, yes, it would be smart, but it's not something he really does. He doesn't try to, and even if he would try to, I don't think his wrestling is that great, and Sumudaerji does have very good takedown defense. But yeah, Sumudaerji has been submitted in all 4 of his losses, so if this fight does hit the mat, whether there's, ends up on the mat any type of way, whether it's, I don't know, Madargi knocks him down, gets on top, whatever, whether it's Schnell does take him down. If this fight hits the mat, Schnell's going to sub this guy. Schnell's ground game is so underrated. It's very good. Shame he doesn't really use it as much as he should, and this is a fight where he absolutely should, but you just can't count on him to do that. I think he's like 10 UFC fights, only 1 or 2 takedowns. So I think this fight does primarily stay standing, and Madargi's the better striker. Simple as that. Madargi's more durable. Madargi never knocked out. I'm curious to see what game plan Matt Schnell comes in this fight with. Sometimes we get the wild, crazy Matt Schnell, especially earlier in his career. He'd go in there and just throw down and get knocked out. I think he's been knocked out like 3 or 4 times. And then, as of late, we've gotten a more calculated, measured Matt Schnell. He's not getting knocked out as much, but in his last fight against Royval, kind of went after it right away. So if he goes out there and tries to, be calculated, take it slow, sit at range against Madargi picks him apart for 3 rounds. If he goes out there like a wild man, gets into a brawl, he's getting knocked out. So Madargi has finished, I believe, all but 2 of his wins. Outside the UFC, he finished every single win, but he does have 2 finished wins in the UFC, 2 decision wins in the UFC, one against Zaruk Adashev, which definitely would have liked to finish that guy, and then Andrei Sukumtov, who is very tough and durable, but I don't think Schnell's durable at all. I think Madargi can definitely put this guy out. I like Madargi to win this fight by knockout. What round? It all depends on Matt Schnell. If Matt Schnell comes in here like a wild man, and Madargi knocks him out in the round 1. If Schnell comes in here, calculated, takes it slow, Madargi probably round 2. But I think he does knock him out at some point here. And yeah, Schnell, if he wrestled, he'd have a shot here, definitely, but I just don't count on him to do that. So Madargi, I'll say 2nd round knockout. All right, there we go. Okay, we have Li Jingliang going against Muslim Salikhov. We have Salikhov, 38 years old, 5'11", with a 69.5-inch reach, 8-2 and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Li Jingliang, the Leech, we have 34 years old, 6 foot with a 72-inch reach, 18-7 and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Let's take a look at the odds. And we have Salikhov opening up minus 140, currently minus 160. The Leech opening up plus 120, currently plus 140. This guy Salikhov, I just keep getting this guy wrong. I think I picked against him in the Zaleski fight, which is a split. I thought Zaleski won, a close fight though. I think I picked Starpoli against him, which was terrible. I picked Talib against him. I did pick him, though, against Trinaldo. But this guy's a very tough guy to pick and pick against, really. I mean, because he goes out there, he's super low volume. His cardio's bad. But this guy's a great striker. He's a very, very great striker. He throws everything with a ton of power. No wonder this guy slows down. But again, low volume. And as the fight goes on, he definitely does slow. I think Jingliang has a good chance to win this fight. I don't think he's going to go out here and try to take down Salikhov, which is something I've been waiting for. I've been waiting for somebody to go out here and try to take down Salikhov. But I don't think Leach is going to do that. But what I do think Leach is going to do, I think he's going to go in here and make this a fight. I think he's going to go in there and land a ton of strikes. I think Lee has the better cardio as well. And this is going to be a banger. This is going to be a very good fight. But I do think Lee is very live to win this fight just based off of volume, doing more, and the cardio as well. As the fight goes on, I feel like the Leech can definitely take over here. So it's a tough one because Salikhov is probably going to be landing the better strikes, probably the harder strikes as well. This guy hits very hard, but the Leech hits pretty hard in his own right, and I do think the volume could very well be the difference here if this fight does get extended. I like the Leech's cardio over Salikhov, who does slow down as the fight goes on. And if the Leech is to mix in takedowns, potentially, I mean, he has averaged 1.25 per 50 minutes in his fights. Maybe mixing a takedown here or there. I think that could be on the table, but I think his fight's going to be super close. I'm going to take the dog here in the Leech to get it done. Not a ton of confidence. Like I said, it's tough to pick for or against Salikhov. Not ever been really impressed with the guy, but the guy just keeps on winning. So I'm going to take the Leech, though. Give me the Leech to win by decision. But yeah, this should be a fun fight as well. Co-main event here, we have Michelle Waterson going against Amanda Lemos. We have Michelle Waterson, who is 36 years old, 5'3" with a 62-inch reach, 18-9 and 2-3 in her last 5 fights. Lemos, 35 years old, 5'4" with a 65-inch reach, 11-2 and 4-1 in her last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds here. Lemos is the biggest favorite on the entire card, I believe. Yes, she is. Opening up, minus 400, currently minus 320. Waterson opened up plus 300. She is currently plus 270. So I guess one thing to note is, I don't know. Let me double check here, because on Tapology it's saying this is at 125 pounds. And then last time I checked on UFC stats, it says yeah, it does. So on UFC stats, it says it's a strawweight fight, and on Tapology, it says it's a flyweight fight, which is going to be a big difference here. If it's at flyweight, it's Lemos, and it's Lemos all day. If it's at strawweight, I think it'll be a little bit more closer, but I still lean with the Lemos side. The reason I like this fight at flyweight for Lemos is this will be Waterson's second fight at flyweight. The first one was in her last fight. I believe it was like somewhat short notice against Marina Rodriguez, who is also a strawweight. So really not a big difference there. But Amanda Lemos has actually fought at 135 before. I think even like 145 before, right? Against Leslie Smith, I want to say that was 145. It won't show me here, but yeah, I think it might have been 145. So, Lemos has fought, up a couple weight classes before, whereas Waterson, she's actually fought at atomweight before. So I do think a flyweight fight definitely does favor Amanda Lemos here, but I'm not sure. UFC stats is telling you one thing, Tapology telling you another thing. We'll have to see when it comes to Friday, but yeah, I like Lemos here. She's going to be landing the harder shots here. I think she's going to have the higher volume as well. Of course, there's a lot of things that I don't like in the game of Lemos, a couple being the cardio is a huge concern, not only in the Leslie Smith fight, which I think she's fixed her cardio up a ton since then, but even like in the Angela Hill fight, she was slowing down in that second round, lost that second round, came back in the third, apparently won the third round, I think. Even that, I kind of scored her for Angela Hill. So that's not good. Round 1, she looks really good. She's powerful, but as the fight goes on, that kind of scares me. So, especially when you're laying like minus 300 on Lemos, but I think over the course of 3 rounds, she does land the harder shots. I don't know if she finishes Michelle Waterson here, though. Waterson, very tough. She's only been knocked down once in the UFC, and she hasn't been knocked out in a while. She's never been knocked out in the UFC. She's only been finished once in the UFC. I think that was against Rose Namajunas by submission, but all their other finished losses are outside the UFC, over like 10 years ago. So it's been a while. So I like Lemos here. Do I like her at minus 300? No, not at all. But yeah, Waterson, this should be a tough fight for her. I mean, she's going to get hit hard. I don't think she's going to get this fight down to the mat. Lemos, very good takedown defense. I know Andrade submitted her in the last fight, but there's a big difference between Andrade and Waterson. I think Lemos does get this win here. So we'll have to see if it's at flyweight or if it's at strawweight. If it's at flyweight, I like Lemos a little bit more. If it's at strawweight, I'll kind of tread lightly a little bit. But give me Lemos to win this fight, and give me Lemos to win this fight by decision. All right, then we have the main event. We have Brian Ortega going against Yair Rodriguez. Brian Ortega, he is 31 years old, 5'8", with a 69-inch reach, 15-2 and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Yair Rodriguez, 29 years old, 5'11", 71-inch reach, 13-3 and 1 no contest. And he is 2-2 and 1 no contest in his last 5 fights. That no contest coming against Jeremy Stephens. We'll take a look at the odds, and Brian Ortega opened up as a minus 150 favorite, currently minus 175. Rodriguez opened up plus 130. He is currently plus 150. And yeah, I think it's a good fight. It's a competitive fight. On the feet, you have to favor Rodriguez. It's really not even close. And if this fight was a couple of years ago, I'd say it's Rodriguez all day. But I think it's, I think Ortega could have some success. Like Ortega, after that layoff, before the Zombie fight, he came back against Zombie, and that was the best striking we've ever seen out of Ortega. I think he made a lot of improvements there. And even like in the Volkanovski fight, although he got beat up really bad, his striking looked a lot better than it had in the past. So I do think Ortega has made a ton of improvements in the striking, but you still have to favor Rodriguez here in the striking. In terms of like the power, both guys have power, but Ortega hits very hard. He dropped Zombie twice very bad. There's some other knockdowns, and this is a guy that goes out there and he's getting club and subs. Just very dangerous on the feet, but it's the ground game of Ortega that's his bread and butter. And I think that's where he kind of wins this fight mostly. So Ortega, it's interesting. It's something that I noticed digging into this fight, I think on Sunday. But in his first 7 UFC fights, he attempted like 3 or 4 takedowns, something like that. He only got 1 takedown in his first 7 fights. Only 1 takedown. And then you take a look at his last 3 fights. Holloway, Zombie, Volkanovski. He's gotten 7. He's gotten 7 takedowns in his last 3 fights. And in his first 7 fights, he only got 1 takedown. So he's adding that new wrinkle into his game, and that wrinkle is the wrestling. He shot like 26 takedowns, so he's shooting a ton of takedowns as well. You'd love to see that. And I feel like if he does go out there and shoot a lot of takedowns, he probably does get some here. I mean, he took down Volkanovski twice. That is not easy to do. Volkanovski, a phenomenal takedown defense and get-up game. The Korean Zombie took him down 3 times. That is not easy to do. The Korean Zombie, phenomenal takedown defense and get-up game. He took down Max Holloway twice. Not easy to do. Holloway, phenomenal takedown defense and get-up game, whereas Yair Rodriguez, a 60% takedown defense. He can be taken down. He was taken down 3 times by Holloway, 3 times by Stephens. He was taken down by Caceres, Feely, Hooker, Charles Rosa 5 times. So he's been taken down a lot throughout his career, and I think if Ortega does come in here and wrestles, he absolutely can get this fight down to the mat, and if he does, he is going to be super live for a submission. This guy's ground game is no joke. Yair Rodriguez has never been submitted before, but he has never fought Brian Ortega. So, yeah, I like Ortega here. I want to say a decent amount. I don't know if I can fully trust him to go out here and, get this fight down to the mat consistently. But if he does get this fight down to the mat at any point in time, like he's going to be live for a submission. So, yeah, on the feet, I favor Rodriguez, although I feel like Ortega can have some success here or there. But on the mat, it's Ortega, and it's Ortega all day. So I'm going to say Ortega does get this fight down to the mat. I'm going to say he does lock up something. I'll say 2nd or 3rd round submission for Brian Ortega. This guy's ground game is no joke, and I think he's going to show that. So give me Brian Ortega to win. Give me Brian Ortega to win this fight by submission. So, yeah, we did it, guys. Yeah, tough card. Tough card from a betting perspective, from a pick perspective. I think it's a great card from a fan perspective. The main event's phenomenal. You got some good fights on the main card, a couple good fights on the prelims. But another card where I'm just going to be saving my ammo for next week. I already have 2 big bets for next week. And then we have UFC 277 to end the month as well, which another big spot that I'm eyeing as well. So these last couple cards have just been sketchy. So, yeah, guys, be careful. A lot of fights can go either way here. Some sketchy fights as well. But should be a fun card. So leave a like on your way out. Subscribe to the channel. I will be back throughout the week doing more videos, betting breakdown, best bet, final thoughts, just lots of more content coming throughout the week. So make sure you are subscribed so you not miss out on that. And if you have not signed up on DFSbythenumbers.com, be sure to do so. Check out that $10 betting package. We have 5 cards after this one to end our 12-week stretch, which has been really good. I think 12-week stretch so far, we've only lost 1 event, and it was like minus 0.15 units. So hopefully to keep it rolling here, close out this stretch strong, take that 1 week off, and then come back firing again. So that's about it, guys. Best of luck for UFC Long Island, and we'll talk to you very soon. See you.